Block 1. Mary Kenner's Spark of Genius. It's 1918 in Charlotte, North Carolina. A 6-year-old girl named Mary Beatrice Davidson is trying to get into the back door of her family home, but it's making a terrible noise. The hinges grind and squeak with every movement, a constant grating annoyance. Most children would simply ignore it, but Mary sees something different. She doesn't just hear a noise, she identifies a problem, a flaw in the design of the world. In her mind, a solution begins to form, an elegant piece of engineering that would solve the problem permanently. She imagines a hinge that could oil itself, a small, integrated system that would keep the mechanism perpetually smooth and silent. This wasn't just a fleeting thought, it was the first documented spark of a mind that was fundamentally wired for invention. This early vision for a self-lubricating door hinge, conceived in the mind of a first grader, was the opening chapter in the life of Mary Kenner, a prolific inventor whose genius would later confront the unyielding wall of American racism. Her story isn't just about one invention, it's about a relentless creative spirit that saw a world full of fixable problems. Mary was born into a family where invention was the native language. Her father, Sidney Nathaniel Davidson, was a creator in his own right. He held a patent for a portable clothes presser, a clever device that could fit into a suitcase, designed for traveling salesmen and others on the move. He even received an offer of $20,000 for it, a staggering sum at the time, though the story goes he was swindled out of the deal. Her maternal grandfather had invented a tricolor light signal for trains, and her sister, Mildred, grew up to invent and sell Mildred's famous golden pork cracklings and even created a popular family board game called Family Tree Card. For the Davidsons, seeing a problem and not immediately brainstorming a solution was almost unthinkable. A family where invention was the native language. This environment was Mary's crucible. She didn't just inherit DNA, she inherited a methodology, a way of looking at the world not as a static set of objects, but as a dynamic system that could always be improved. Her childhood was her apprenticeship, her home a laboratory of ideas. Her family eventually moved to Washington, D.C., as part of the Great Migration, seeking better opportunities away from the Jim Crow South. In D.C., Mary's inventive drive only intensified. She would stalk the halls of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, trying to learn firsthand how one turns an idea into a protected piece of intellectual property. She was a teenager, yet she was already reverse engineering the system, figuring out the mechanics of innovation. Her notebooks filled with sketches and concepts. She designed a convertible roof that could shield the passenger area of a car from rain. She conceived of a portable ashtray that could be attached to a cigarette pack itself. Each idea was born from keen observation of everyday life. She saw smokers flicking ash on the floor and thought, there's a better way. She saw people caught in sudden downpours and thought, there's a better way. This was her mantra. Her mind was a constant engine of iteration and improvement, a stark contrast to the rigid, segregated society she was forced to navigate. While the world around her was intent on imposing limits based on her race and gender, Mary's imagination operated without boundaries. She graduated from Dunbar High School in 1931, a historically prestigious institution for African Americans, and though she attended Howard University for a year and a half, financial difficulties forced her to drop out. She took on a series of odd jobs, eventually landing a position as a federal employee where she would work for decades. But her day job never defined her. Her true work happened after hours, at her kitchen table, with her sketch pad and her relentless curiosity. She was a professional problem solver living in a world that refused to see her as a professional. Her mind was a constant engine of iteration. This period of her life established the foundation of her character, resilient, observant, and endlessly creative. She wasn't seeking fame or fortune. She was driven by a much purer impulse, the desire to make life easier, more efficient, and more comfortable for other people. It was this deep well of empathy that would lead her to her most significant and most heartbreaking invention. Of all the problems she saw, one in particular, an issue shrouded in social taboo and discomfort, would capture her attention and demand a solution. But what happens when a truly revolutionary idea, born from compassion, is presented to a society that judges the inventor before it even considers the invention? Block 2. The groundbreaking sanitary belt and its rejection. That devastating question found its answer in a product born of empathy and brilliant practical engineering. To understand the magnitude of Mary Kenner's sanitary belt, we must first step into the world women inhabited in the pre-1950s. Menstrual hygiene was a topic relegated to whispers, a private struggle with crude and ineffective solutions. Commercially available disposable pads existed, but they were bulky, unreliable, and often held in place with safety pins attached to underwear, a method that was uncomfortable, insecure, and often led to leaks and embarrassing accidents. The alternative was even less appealing: rags and cloths, which were unsanitary, inconvenient, and a constant source of anxiety. The lack of a reliable, comfortable solution wasn't just an inconvenience, it was a barrier. It affected women's ability to work, to travel, to participate fully in public life with confidence and dignity. Mary Kenner saw this not as a woman's problem, but as a fundamental design flaw in everyday life that demanded a better solution. She had been thinking about it since the 1920s, sketching and refining her ideas over decades, driven by a desire to provide women with a sense of security that society had failed to offer. Her final design was a masterclass in user-centered innovation. She invented an adjustable sanitary belt equipped with a built-in moisture-proof napkin pocket. This was the game changer. Unlike the pinned-on pads of the era, Kenner's belt held the napkin securely in place, drastically reducing the risk of shifting and leakage. The adjustable straps ensured a comfortable, customized fit for different body types, a concept largely ignored by manufacturers at the time. The moisture-proof pocket was the key feature, creating a barrier that prevented stains and offered a level of protection that was simply revolutionary. A level of protection that was simply revolutionary. It was a simple, elegant solution to a pervasive and deeply personal problem. After years of refinement, she finally saved up enough money to file for her first patent in 1954. The patent was granted in 1957, a tangible validation of her decades of work. Her idea was no longer just a sketch, it was a protected piece of American ingenuity. With the patent secured, the next step was to bring it to the world. A major company, the Sun Knappack Company, based in New York, learned of her invention and expressed immediate and enthusiastic interest. This was the moment every inventor dreams of: the validation from industry, the promise of mass production, the chance to see your creation change lives. They sent a company representative to Washington, D.C. to meet with Kenner and finalize a deal. The correspondence had been promising. The future of her invention seemed bright. The representative arrived, ready to talk business, ready to acquire a product that had the potential to dominate the market. And then he saw her. He saw that Mary Beatrice Davidson Kenner, the brilliant mind behind this groundbreaking design, was a black woman. The mood in the room shifted instantly. The warmth of business opportunity turned into the icy chill of prejudice. The representative, according to Kenner, turned around and left. Days later, a letter arrived formally rejecting her invention. They were no longer interested. They gave no reason, but the reason was painfully, brutally clear. The warmth of business opportunity turned into the icy chill of prejudice. The company that had been so eager to profit from her mind was unwilling to be associated with her skin. It was a direct, unambiguous act of racism that slammed the door not only on Mary Kenner, but on decades of progress for millions of women who would have to continue relying on inferior products. The patent, her proof of genius, became a worthless piece of paper. The system had not just failed her, it had actively and deliberately sabotaged progress in the name of bigotry. Her patent would eventually expire, and her idea would enter the public domain, unable to make her a single cent. But was this blatant act of injustice enough to extinguish the fire of her inventive spirit? Block 3. Beyond the Belt. Kenner's enduring legacy following that crushing rejection. A moment that would have fractured the spirit of most inventors, Mary Kenner refused to be defined by the bigotry that had denied her. Her mind was not built for surrender. While the world lost out on her sanitary belt, her innate drive to solve problems remained undimmed. Instead of retreating, she simply turned her attention to other everyday inconveniences, continuing her life's work as if the setback were just another design flaw to be routed around. Her resilience is best measured not by what was taken from her, but by what she continued to create. In 1976, she and her sister Mildred invented and patented a revolutionary toilet tissue holder. Their design featured a detachable end, ensuring that the roll of paper could never accidentally slide off, but more importantly, it was designed so that the loose end of the paper was always reachable. This seemingly small innovation was a breakthrough in accessibility, designed to assist the blind and those with arthritis, making a daily task significantly easier for people with physical limitations. It was another product born of empathy, a hallmark of all her work. Her inventive streak didn't stop there. After her husband, James Jabbo Kenner, developed multiple sclerosis and became wheelchair-bound, Mary's focus shifted to mobility and accessibility within the home. She saw his struggle to perform simple tasks, like washing himself in the shower. In response, she designed and, in 1987, patented a backwasher that could be mounted directly onto a shower wall or bathtub. This device allowed individuals with limited reach and mobility to bathe themselves independently, restoring a measure of dignity and self-sufficiency. This invention, along with the toilet paper holder, reveals the true nature of her genius. Another product born of empathy, a hallmark of all her work. She was a pioneer of universal design, creating products that served not just the average person, but everyone, especially the most vulnerable among us. In total, Mary Kenner holds 5 patents, more than any other African-American woman in history. She never became wealthy from her inventions, but she never stopped inventing. She ran a string of flower shops in the D.C. area to support herself, all while her mind continued to deconstruct and improve the world around her. Mary Kenner's story is a powerful, poignant chapter in a much larger, often hidden history of Black inventors in America. Her experience of being denied opportunity solely due to her race is not an anomaly. It is emblematic of a systemic injustice that has stifled innovation for centuries. Think of Sarah Boone, a Black woman who in 1892 patented an improved ironing board, a design that is the direct ancestor of what we use today. Or Alice H. Parker, who in 1919 invented a gas furnace that paved the way for modern central heating. Their names, like Kenner's, are largely absent from our textbooks. Their stories represent a vast, unquantifiable loss, not just of personal wealth and recognition for the inventors themselves, but of societal progress. How many other brilliant ideas were dismissed? How many solutions to our problems were buried because of the skin color or gender of the person who conceived them? Kenner's life forces us to confront this legacy, a systemic injustice that has stifled innovation for centuries. Her resilience is inspiring, but we must also mourn the world that her sanitary belt could have created decades earlier. We must be outraged by the company that chose prejudice over progress. Mary Kenner passed away in 2006, her genius acknowledged by few outside her immediate circle. Today, we have a responsibility to correct that record. Her name may not be as famous as Edison or Ford, but her legacy is written into the very fabric of empathetic design and persistent innovation. The question is not just what she invented, but what more she and countless others like her could have achieved had the world only been ready to see the brilliance, not the person behind the idea. Her story is a reminder that the fight for recognition is a fight for a better, more innovative future for everyone.